Untitled Trap is a film noir heist movie released in 1952. It stars Joseph Cotten and Teresa Wright and was written and directed by Andrew L. Stone. When an assistant manager at a Los Angeles bank suddenly realizes how easy it would be to rob his own bank, he decides to do just that on the upcoming Friday, with hopes of escaping to Brazil with his wife, believing that they and the money can be long gone by the time the bank reopens on Monday morning. But, this being a film noir, things don't go quite as he planned. The main problem starting from the fact that his wife doesn't know what her husband has just done. I said in my review of The Third Man that I am a huge fan of Joseph Cotten's, and watching this movie just reiterates why. I think he has a great everyman quality about him. He's very relatable and believable in whatever movie he chooses to do. But in this one, you still get that standard Joseph Cotten charm that he always brought to his movies. But as the movie progresses, you really see another side of him as he starts to become... it really starts when he makes up a story to his wife of why they're going to Brazil, that it's actually just a work trip, and he'd like her to come with him. Never telling her what his plan really is. But as the movie goes along, you see him start to become more and more tense as he's realizing the danger that he's brought he and his wife into. And watching his behavior become more and more erratic, and just seeing him starting to unravel. There was a very shaky facade that he had up for a while, and it starts to slip the more and more obstacles that end up in their way. He and Teresa Wright work really well together. I'm a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt, which of course they both star in. So it is a little bit odd seeing Uncle Charlie and young Charlie as husband and wife. But after a little while you kind of push that out of your mind, and you can see them as a couple. But I thought Teresa Wright also is very good in the movie. She isn't given quite as much to work with as Joseph Cotten is, but it's still very interesting watching her going from completely oblivious to what's going on in front of her and just buying into what her husband's told her, to slowly starting to catch on to the fact that her husband is not acting the way he normally does, and that something is definitely wrong here. And you just really are waiting the whole time for her to either catch on to what he's done or for him to confess to her. And either way, just waiting for her to shake some sense into him, because he really needs it. This is a rare and mostly forgotten movie that I think is just such a masterclass in how to build suspense. The tension is constantly being ratcheted up throughout its 85-minute runtime. It really takes every opportunity it can to just keep building the suspense and wring out every drop of tension that could arise from this situation, starting from the initial robbery, which he pulls right after closing time at the bank while there are still other employees there with him, and he's sneaking down to the vault and trying to get the cash together. And the whole time you're not wanting him to get away with it, but you're afraid he's going to get caught. And everything else that comes after that, whether it's him trying to get passports for him and his wife to be able to leave the country, or just to book flights that will get them there before Monday, and having to change planes and having to stop over in New Orleans, finding out that co-workers back at home have heard about this sudden trip that they've taken and not sure where they've gone or what they're doing. Just every one of these things. He's walking around with a briefcase with roughly $1 million in it, so every interaction he has with a customs agent is just a tense, nail-biting sequence, just him talking to somebody across a desk. And you really feel for him, because I think you're starting to see him regret what he's done as he's realizing that he is already, just hours after the robbery, looking over his shoulder, feeling like he could be caught at any time. And as I said earlier, you're just waiting for his wife to find out what's happened, because you know what's coming. If I had any criticism about this movie at all, it would probably just come from the fact that there's very little reason given as to why this man would suddenly decide to do this. It's very much he realizes how it could be done and decides that he'll just go through with it. I initially kind of thought of this as a weakness of the movie, but as I thought about the alternative, I think I almost prefer no reason given instead of going to a cliche, he needs to pay off medical bills or he has gambling debts or something like that. I think that just the fact that it just kind of brushes over the fact that, all right, he's decided to do this, now let's dig in, as he really puts together a hastily drawn up elaborate plot to do this and get out of the country. And once you're invested in that, you're along for the ride, regardless what his motivations were. And similar, at the end of the movie, it ends very abruptly. I won't say what happens, which way it goes, but there too, it's a very sudden beginning and a very sudden end to the film. But it really didn't detract from it. It's just something I thought about and then realized that I think that was probably the best way they could have done it. There's also an excellent score by Dmitri Tiomkin. He is one of the most iconic composers from the golden age of Hollywood, and I was kind of surprised to see such a big name composer connected to a smaller movie like this. But I think that it was just so great hearing his music. I could hear echoes of themes that were yet to come. His music from Gunfight at the OK Corral or John Wayne's The War Wagon. There are certain melodies that come in during the more intense parts of the movie that I could really identify. And I always really enjoy it when I can hear a composer borrowing from their other work. I think it is kind of a fun little reference to other music that they have composed. And as a fan of westerns and film noir, I enjoy realizing how versatile the music is and that it fits just as well in build-up to the Gunfight at the OK Corral as it does in an urban crime drama. One thing I have to mention is I really appreciated the fact that in the vault there are not large stacks of cash just sitting out on stainless steel tables as you see in so many more modern heist movies. I have worked in a financial institution and there is never huge amounts of cash sitting out on tables. It's much closer to what is shown in this movie, where there are smaller compartments where smaller amounts of cash are stored for each of the tellers. And just that little bit of realism, I know it's not the biggest thing, but I like that. I really love heist movies. I enjoy seeing the intricate plots that are invented and the very specific series of events that have to happen in order for them to achieve their goal. And oftentimes the fun of it comes from the problems that all of a sudden come up and that they have to navigate those and reconfigure their plot on the fly in order for them to somehow get away with it. In this movie, it's not so much the heist that is the really elaborate thing, but more so the getaway that he's planned. But what I really enjoy about older heist movies is that they understand who we should be cheering for. Newer heist movies typically have us siding with the criminals and hoping that they can get away with it and that the cops will never catch them, regardless of who they may have hurt along the way or who has suffered because of their crime. Older heist movies didn't do that. I'm thinking of movies like this one, The Asphalt Jungle, The Killing, Plunder Road. All of these movies knew that, yes, we can marvel at the ingenuity of their plan, but never forget that what they're doing is wrong and it's a crime. And I really appreciate that you can watch it, but you know that the movie is on the right side. I guess you can probably assume that likely is to do with the censors at the time and what they had to do to get their movies approved. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's important to remember that people that pull off robberies like this, they usually do get caught and it can ruin their life. I think the movie really serves as something of a cautionary tale. How a man who seems to have a really good life, a good job, family, a house, all these things that you think should be making him happy, he is almost about to throw it all away, all for the love of money. And you'll have to watch the movie to realize which way it ends up going in the end. but I just think it's a really great story, a really well-made movie with two great lead performances. And if you can find it, please watch it. I think it's a movie that deserves to be seen. I hope you enjoyed this review of The Steel Trap. If you did, please check back to my channel, Hildebrand Productions, for more reviews of classic films. Thanks for watching, and adios for now.